Hi there, I'm Dr. Francesca Zampollo, and in this little presentation today, my goal is to give you a couple of ideas on what food design can do today while all of this is going on planet Earth. I don't presume to solve all our global issues, but I am going to give a couple of suggestions to those of us operating within food designs, chefs, eating designers, educators, restaurant managers, food product designers, etc. I've spent quite a while trying to describe everything that food design is and to visualize everything that food design is. So far, I have created a visualization of the different sub-disciplines of food design that I think show how vast the world of food design is, the discipline of food design is, and how the different sub-disciplines interact with each other, which means also how the different types of food designer interact with each other. The first food design subdiscipline is food product design. Here we have all those products that are made for mass production. Here the product is edible. It does have a packaging, of course, but the product that we are designing is edible, but it's meant for mass production. The second food design subdiscipline is called design for food. And this is where we design all those products that are meant to contain, transport, cook, chop, etc. food. So here the materials are not edibles. We're not designing with the edible materials. And of course, these are meant for mass production as well. This is the category where we have all our food packaging, for example. The third food design subdiscipline is called design with food. And this is usually what chefs and food scientists do. They design the food itself. They design the food consistency, texture, colors, etc. The fourth food design subdiscipline is called food space design. And this is the design of the space where eating happens or where cooking happens. Food designers here are usually interior designers or architects. The next subdiscipline is called eating design. And this is about designing the entire eating situation, the entire situation where somebody is experiencing food. Generally, this is what caterers do because they get to design and choose, make choices not only on the food itself, but also its vessels, plates, and utensils, etc., as well as the space, the overall atmosphere, lights, music, etc. The following food design subdiscipline is food service design, and this is where we design the entire food service. So here we design entire restaurants, cafes, supermarkets, etc. Critical food design comes from critical design. Critical design is a branch of design where the goal of the designer is to make people think. Products and events here are not done for profit generally, usually. They are not made for mass production, but the only goal is to make people think. And I found this in food design as well, so I created this categories called critical food design. And we have, for example, projects like this, a blended recipe that makes us think about the type of human beings that we are becoming, working more and more hours at the desk. And here the designer is saying, the food designer is saying, is this the type of society that we want to become? Is this the role that we want food to have in the future? As well as other projects where, again, the only goal is to make us think, usually here in critical food design, about our relationship between people and food. The following food design subdiscipline is called food system design, and this is about designing the entire food system. And finally, sustainable food design, which is not really a food design subdiscipline to me because every food design should be sustainable. Every food design project should have sustainability as its main goal. And talking about sustainability, the main thing that we have to remember, that I want to remember here, is that when we talk about sustainability, we don't actually mean only environmental sustainability, but we also mean economic sustainability and social sustainability. So this is the way I see food design and how I see the different sub-disciplines interacting with one another. Generally, we can say, first of all, that food design is a design process. If we think about having a process where in the very beginning we have no idea of what we will design, and in the very end we have a product on the shelves or a service available to people, all of this is food design. And food design is the design process that brings innovation on anything that has to do with food or eating, like dishes, food products, food services, food events, and food systems. But food design should be about innovation. In my opinion, we cannot talk about food design if there isn't some type of innovation, some type of improvement into people's lives or the life of this planet. We can also say that food design intervenes in the production, procurement, preservation, transportation, preparation, presentation, consumption, and disposal of food. So, for the second part of this little presentation, what can food design do today? I have different propositions, and then I will tell you how can food design achieve these different propositions. First of all, I think that food design can help us put people first and not money. We are definitely a society that revolves around money. Our individual lives revolve around money. Most of our hobbies have a cost, or they are done with objects, materials, or services that have a cost. Money are embedded in our society, and therefore, for companies, for those who make new products or services, profit is the number one priority. Profit leads the economy, or at least a huge portion of it. But maybe it's time for us to design for people, to design propositions, products, or services that put people first, or at least on the same level as profit. And why is it important today? Because the war situation we are facing seems to be separating people as a side effect. We are wearing masks, we can't touch, we have curfew. We came out of a situation where we were locked in our homes, and who knows, we might go back to it. We have to take this issue of the pandemic with the responsibility it deserves, but it's clear that it is creating separation. So I think that especially in this period, we must design for people, so that in these strange times, we still have safe ways to find communions, to seek connection, to feel we are together rather than apart. Human beings are social creatures. We work better when we are together. As designers, as makers of new propositions, I think it's paramount for us now to design for connection. Food design can help us design for the planet, for circularities, and therefore for systems. To give you only one piece of data, just one, as a starting point, about 1/3 of the land used for agriculture worldwide is used to cultivate food that will be thrown away. So let's take, for example, food waste. Just as a starting point, just as an issue we can concentrate on to help the planet. The food recovery hierarchy tells us that we can throw food waste in the landfill, and this is the last preferred option. We can compost, we can use it for industrial use, to feed animals, to feed hungry people, and finally, we should work on source reduction, which is the most preferred option, which means that not only we should design to transform how we view waste, to actually consider it as a resource, but we should also ultimately design for zero waste. To help us do this, we can use my circular food economy model. This is based on the circular economy model by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, but with many additions and a visualization that is more specific to the food economy. The circular food economy model helps us optimize resources by circulating products, components, and materials at the highest utility at all times in both technical and biological cycles. The circular food economy model also helps us to consider the whole system in which we are operating and to become more effective by revealing and designing out damage to human utility, such as food, mobility, shelter, education, health, and entertainment, and by helping us manage more productively land use, air, water and noise pollution, the release of toxic substances, and climate change. The circular food economy is a way of thinking and a goal that every food designer should have. Food design can help us make the invisible visceral. Instead of assuming harms are edge cases, good design requires designers to internalize the user's experience as it were their own. Empathy is not a new concept in design, nor in food design. But I'm talking about real empathy, not the type of futile exercises sometimes designers do to understand people's need. I'm talking about going deeper and really feeling what people are feeling. I'm talking about a visceral experience. Food design can help us support brilliance instead of looking for problems. Not everything needs an upgrade. Design can give space for that brilliance to thrive, or it can displace it and atrophy it. Think about those objects we design that simply make no sense. These objects are designed to solve our problems, whereas, in my opinion, often they are just considering human beings as lazy couch potatoes. Instead of focusing on problems, with each design choice, you can support the conditions in which brilliance naturally occurs. And finally, food design can help us designing meaningful food. So, this is the story. I spent much of my research trying to figure out how to help food designers design meaningful food, to design food that is actually meaningful, that means something to people. But then I realized that I actually didn't know what meaningful food was, what it meant for some food to become meaningful. So I started to search for what made food meaningful. And I started collecting videos of people telling me the story of their most meaningful food. This project was called In Search of Meaningful Food, and you can find all videos, all stories in my YouTube channel. Through this project, then, I have met Vera from Argentina, who talks about her grandmother's blue apron when preparing them Nutella sandwiches. I met Eleanor from New Zealand, who talks about blackberry jams with a lot of passion. I met Herbrand from the Netherlands, living in New Zealand, who talks about salted licorice with the passion of a child. I met Kendra, a German girl traveling the world, who talks about her passion for weeds and how when she sees a garden, she sees a huge pot of salad. I met Marta from Colombia, who talks about that boiled crab eaten on the beach with her feet on the sand. I met Laura from Italy, who told me the story of her grandmother's fried chicken and the sense of nostalgia she still feels when thinking about it. I met Emily from New Zealand, talking about the last meal that she prepared for her dad. And I met William from Australia, who became very emotional when talking about that kangaroo meat cooked on a stone in that place where the earth meets the sky. With this project, I am discovering many of the reasons why food becomes meaningful, and I was able to integrate them into food design thinking. Food design thinking is my creative process for food design projects. This is the results of about 10 years of research now, and as of today, it is made of 52 different methods divided into 6 different phases that bring food designers from having no idea what they're going to design to having their defined concept. So, what is food design thinking? Well, if you think about the food design process, then food design thinking is the part of it that brings you from having no idea what you're going to design to a final food design concept. It is the part where we use creativity to come up with new propositions. And now for the part, how can food design help? Well, my personal answer to this question is through food design thinking, because this is the result of my work in these past few years. And food design thinking to me really is the how to for food designers. So let's see. First of all, food design thinking helps us design for social sustainability. Designing for social sustainability means designing for inclusive societies, enhancing the empowerment of citizens, and fostering more resilient and peaceful communities. It means designing for poverty reduction and shared prosperity. It means creating opportunities for all people and addressing deep-rooted systemic inequalities. For example, we can see Cafe Momentum, where all the employees are disadvantaged youth. We have the example of Lentil as Anything, a restaurant in Sydney where you only pay based on what you can pay. And if you can't pay to eat, you still have the opportunity of a delicious meal. And then we have the example of Good Spread. This is a peanut butter brand that for every jar of peanut butter sold gives 1 mana or nutritionally fortified package of peanut butter to malnourished children. So we see how food design thinking is helping with this fundamental shift. If we see the sustainability model again, we can see that designing for economic sustainability means caring about me. Designing for social sustainability means caring for me and for you. And designing for environmental sustainability, for the health of the planet we all share, means caring for all. And with examples like those we have just seen, we see this shift happening. A shift from what is best for me to what is best for us. A shift from what is best for the individual to what is best for humanity. It's happening slowly, but we must recognize it. This implies that we are becoming a species on this planet for whom what is best for all comes before what is best for me. And this is even more true for the younger generation who are more and more sensitive about these issues and who are more and more inclined to spend their monies on products and services that recognize social sustainability. It is clear that we are becoming a collective society for whom people and the planet are more important than financial gain. A society that has gone over caring for me and now aims at caring for all. Food design thinking can also help us design for real empathy. If we focus on the explore and evaluate phases of the food design thinking process, we see that there is a specific way each method is collocated and used, a specific way that brings the food designers on a journey through different levels of empathy. As noted by Paul Ekman, first we go through cognitive empathy or understanding how other people feel. Then we go through emotional empathy or not only understanding how other people feel, but feeling it ourselves. And finally, the food design thinking process helps the food designers reach compassionate empathy, where not only we understand how other people feel, not only we feel how they feel, but we feel how they feel so much that we are moved to help. And I believe that when we reach this level of empathy, when we are so invested into a specific context that we are moved to help, good design happens. Meaningful design happens. Food design thinking helps us following the appreciative inquiry. The appreciative inquiry focuses on doing more of what is already working rather than focusing on problems. Where most design approaches focus on finding problems to solve, the appreciative inquiry reminds us that in every situation there is something that already works, and we should leverage on that. Food design thinking embraces this approach and embeds it into various exploration methods of data collection. And finally, food design thinking helps us design for meanings. Food design thinking can help us do the type of design that tells a story and gives a message. This is a jar of honey. This is a jar of honey that comes in a pot. When you've used the honey, you can use the pot to plant a flower where bees can come back to and with which you are saying, "Thank you, bees, for your honey." It can allow human travel beyond Earth, and it can turn embarrassing moments into awe. This is a tablecloth, white tablecloth with a flowery pattern but when a colored liquid like wine is spilled onto it, butterflies appear. This product turns a potentially embarrassing moment into something magical. And food design thinking can help us reflect on food waste and therefore environmental sustainability. This is an example of a series of dinners held inside a food dumpster. And the whole menu was made from food that would have otherwise been wasted. And this is food design thinking and how food design can help us today. But I think I want to conclude this video talking about food with the words of the people that have taught me what food is.
Like the whole meadow all around, it's usually like a big pot of salad.
Ma è come se la pizza, cioè il prodotto stesso, facesse un po' da collante con le persone con cui la mangi.
Yes, there was a lot of family that was involved with that, but it was also a type of meal that I only got basically once a year.
What we're doing is we're trading apart or leading people into our identity. We're showing them who we are, and we take pride in the exchange of that food.
Ma anche come un simbolo di essere colombiano. Quando tu stai nell'estero e tu fai arepas, ti senti come a casa.
Smells and tastes just like home.
Cooking is not just take the food and put it in a pan and heat it or bake or do something with it. You have to put love in that as well. It's completely different for me. I can feel the love when it is in a cook as a, on the dish. So.
And it's a food I cannot show you, unfortunately. This food is something I'm sure I will never taste again in my life.
This is not only my favorite food, it means fun, good mood, and fantastic memories of my grandma.
In gatherings, so this jar of blackberry jam has a huge amount of meaning for me.
It embraces my soul.
And it's something I don't think I'll ever forget. It's embossed on my mind. Well, that's it. Yeah.
This is it from me. Thank you for watching this presentation. Have a lovely day and happy food design.